And there we go. Just to sort of lay some groundwork here, welcome everybody. You know me, I'm Virginia, and I'm pleased to introduce to you Sue McCauley, who is the Executive Director of the United Way of Cattaraugus and Allegheny Counties. I'm looking at my email to make sure I have that title right. Sue and I got talking a while back because I was talking with the wardens of our three parishes, and I was very curious, if we really want to understand what's going on in our communities, and if we want to think about where God may be calling us to do some mission work, wouldn't it be good if we really had a good understanding from those who are serving the community, who are providing the services, who are doing the research, who are also frankly, collecting dollars to help fund the services going on in the community. So I reached out to United Way and had a great conversation with Sue, and she showed me this database that just blew my mind because it all of a sudden made the needs in Allegheny County right down to the local level that much more clear and obvious and tangible. And I thought, I just need all of you to see this because it's so interesting. And I think once we see it tonight, it might give us the opportunity to have some more conversations about, when we're thinking about activities to do, when we're thinking about grants to apply for, how to use monies that we do receive, how do we know that we're really doing the right thing in the community and it's having a great impact? And how are we bringing our faith and what we say with our faith about caring for our neighbor home right where we are? So I asked Sue to join us tonight and to talk with us about this program called Alice. And I'm going to give her sharing capability. And while I'm doing that, I hope y'all might just go around and say hello to her, say hello to Sue, and tell her, if you wouldn't mind, your parish and how long you've lived in the community, where you live, what your parish is, and how long you've been in the community. Okay, go, Mary, go.
I'm from St. Paul's Angelica, and I've lived in Angelica for just about 57 years. Even though I'm older than that, I was off for about 5 years. So
very good. Would you invite someone to go next, please, Mary?
Kirk, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Kirk Miller. I'm the senior warden at Christ Church, Cuba, and I've lived here in Cuba since 1992. Do the math there. Is that 32 years?
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah. Before that, I lived up in the Rochester area. Bill, want to go next?
Okay, I'm Bill Nash. I'm here with my wife, and I'm senior warden from St. John's Church also, and we've lived in the community for 52 years. Came the year of the 72 flood.
Perfect timing. Bill, would you invite someone to go next, please?
Jeff?
I'm Morgan, and this is Jeff Donegan. We live in Angelica and attend St. Paul's. I grew up in Angelica and moved away for about 10 years. So I have lived here for 22 years, 23 years,
Okay.
24 years actually. And he's lived here since 2020.
Okay, lovely. That gets us back to the Duttweilers.
I'm Pam,
And I'm Raleigh
St. Paul's.
in Angelica.
We've lived here for 27 years.
There you go.
Oh, that was a little scary how you did that.
Like we practiced that.
Just a little scary. All right. I'm Virginia, and I've been working with the three parishes since last November. So I'm the newbie in the crowd. And Sue, how about yourself? How long have you been working with United Way that's in Allegheny County as compared with Cattaraugus?
So I started with Cattaraugus County about 10 years ago. And I've been working with Allegheny since April of 2022. That's when they first approached United Way of Cattaraugus County to merge together. So I've been working over in Allegheny County for 2 years. Yeah, so this is my second go around with the United Way though, because when I came out of college, I actually worked for a local United Way up north, where I'm from. So it's always been a part of my career that I've had some sort of role. Even when I wasn't with United Way, I was usually tapped for campaign within the company I worked for. So yeah, it's always been a part of me. So it's great to reach out and get out into the community. I have to say I got a very warm welcome in Allegheny County, and I really enjoy going over and working in Allegheny County. I'm looking forward to doing even more of that now that all of the legal work has been done to connect the two United Ways together.
Well, the floor is yours, and you are the host. So go ahead and.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to, if nobody minds, I'm going to shut my camera off because I am on my home line and it's a little bit fussy. So it'll make it a little bit smoother if I just kind of shut my screen off. So I'm going to go ahead and share. Okay, can everybody see my slideshow?
Yes.
Seeing the slideshow, okay. All right, so we're going to talk tonight about Alice. And we're going to start out with who is Alice. So Alice is what we call the hidden population. They are the people that do our daycares. They are the retail clerks. They are the waiters. And Alice stands for Assets Limited, Income Constrained Employed. And these are the part of our population that they earn above the federal poverty level, but not enough to afford the essentials. And so they're forced to make really hard decisions every day about what they do with the money that they earn. So United Way works together with a group called United for Alice, which is a research organization. And what we do is work together with them to get focused data within the counties that we work. So we have information on Allegheny County and Cattaraugus County. And United for Alice works to drive action to improve life across the country for Alice. So right now, when you look at Allegheny County, Alice, those living below the Alice threshold from 2021 to 22 actually went down. But in that time period, we've also lost households within Alice, within Allegheny County's population. So it's still 50% of households countywide are Alice, which means that they're just not able to afford even the basics. So Alice households exist across all ages, all genders, races, ethnicities, and geographies. And some groups are disproportionately, I'll split it out at some point, Alice, because of barriers to their education, home ownership, healthcare, and financial savings. In Allegheny County, those households with 2 or more races are more likely to be a part of Alice, with 59% of those households struggling with basic costs. If you dig down deeper into those demographics, we can look at the makeup of the homes and then the makeup of ages within Alice. So really startling is when you look at the makeup of homes, single female head of household with children, 83% of those in Allegheny County are Alice. When you look at single male head of household with children, 85% are in Alice. And when you look at the age, under age 25, 76% of the population is Alice. And then even startling, you look at the 65 plus year olds in Allegheny County, 52% sit within that Alice. So when we start looking at New York State, when you look at the top 20 jobs in New York State, 39% are struggling to afford basics in 2022. Jobs with the largest share of Alice workers, of course, the personal care aides, the daycare workers, cooks, cashiers. And even though the minimum wage has increased and the tight job market has increased wages across New York State, they still can continue to struggle in 2022. One of the things I wanted to point out, you notice that I'm talking about 2022 data. Alice is updated every 2 years, and they use census data to take a look at it. So we have to look back 2 years. So some of the statistics that I'm talking about have changed even within the year of 2023. It's the target of United for Alice to be able to do this almost in real time, so that next year, when we look back, we'll be looking at 2023 and 2024 data, so it'll be done yearly. So this again shows what's been going on with Alice and the kind of perfect storm. There's so many elements that makes Alice sit within this population. So you see that employment income has gone up for Alice, and they've had pandemic supports, but at the same time, basic expenses have gone up. So all of us have seen those basic expenses in the grocery store, the rents, the utilities, they've all gone up. And while their employment income, like I said, has gone up, it's the life's basics are very tough for them to do. So since the Great Recession, when you look at the number of Alice households in Allegheny County, they've remained roughly steady over the past 10 years. But when you look down at the bottom, Allegheny County has lost nearly 2,000 households. So when you look at that, you see that number is actually the percentage of households has grown in Allegheny County as compared to 2010. So 47% in 2010, and we're up to 50% in 2022. So that means that half the households in Allegheny County sit at that Alice threshold or below. So they're not really thriving, they're just kind of surviving. So when we drill down and take a closer look, we're going to look at two specific groups within Alice. And first is basically the future within New York State, the families with children. And 40% of those families with children in New York are struggling to get by. And just as we looked at that earlier slide, when you have families with 83% and 85% of those families are within Alice, the female single head of household and the male single head of household. This figure is not surprising, but that's our future that we're worried and concerned about. And another group that really, when you look at the age group, those 65 and above in New York State has had a 33% surge in Alice. This is the fastest growing demographic in our country. And the costs have climbed for this population. Retirement funds aren't meeting it. Some people are depending just on Social Security. And so this has kept them between that poverty line and what I call the thriving line for Alice. And, double whammy for this population during the pandemic, they got SNAP benefits. Some were able to get SNAP benefits of $120 or more a month. Once that pandemic ended, those SNAP benefits went back down to $20 a month. So just as all of the expenses were increasing due to inflation with just the cost of living basics, they suddenly lost that huge chunk of SNAP. And so that affected them disproportionately as well. But to keep this in mind, just to make ends meet, we now have 178,000 people 65 and above in New York State who are back to work because they can't afford to retire and live off of whatever their retirement income is. So over the past 2 years, Alice is just remaining in the cross currents. And this is one of the things we talk about. You see that the cost of basics continue to rise. There seems to be no end in sight. You go to the grocery store and just to buy milk and eggs, the price just keeps going up. In addition, rent and housing prices continue to go up so that Alice is spending more and more, like a higher percentage of their paycheck just to keep a roof over their heads. So one of the untold impacts of Alice remaining in the cross currents, and this is the impact on families and anyone who falls in it, is the impact of this financial hardship. It impacts people's health. It impacts their mental health. And then we even can start talking about there's something called adverse childhood experiences. They're called ACEs. And the number of ACEs that a child might have can indicate that they may end up in poverty as they proceed. And that when you look at someone who's in poverty now, the chances they have a high number of ACEs when they were a child. And this leads to generational poverty. And one of the big ACEs that children have is financial hardship and the stress that it has on their parents. So Alice, those children who are in Alice face a really uphill task of getting out of Alice and trying to break that cycle of poverty within these families. So it's that untold impact of being caught in these cross. So I've only scratched the surface of all of the data, and I know it's just amazing when you go out. If you take a look at visitunitedforalice.org. This database allows you to take a look at the state information. It allows you to dig into Allegheny County's information. You can get right down into the zip codes to see the impact of Alice within the community and to see the percentages and really start to look at what that survivability budget is right down to the county level. I encourage you to really look at that website because it is a lot of information. I can't even go into all the details on I just scratched the surface, like I said. But what we want you to do is to go take a look at this, take a look at the data, become familiar with it, because then what you can do is use the data to help encourage and create change for Alice. You know, like your discussions that you're having here amongst the wardens, this data, data is power to a degree. It helps you create informed decisions, but also it builds awareness that Alice is here. One of the reasons that our acronym exists is because the United Way of Northern New Jersey realized that there was a section of their population that while they weren't collecting, any type of benefits and they weren't in poverty, they weren't exactly thriving and they couldn't wrap their hands around this population. So they went out and they did this information gathering and created United for Alice. So just by doing that, they started building the awareness of this population. And so that's what we're trying to do is get out and just build awareness. And by informing you and explaining all of this to you, we can continue to build that awareness of Alice and try to help Alice begin to thrive. So in our area, we have some future plans regarding Alice. So one of the things that we hope to do is establish a financial literacy program specifically targeted at the Alice population. And this comes from a conversation that I had with a program manager where I was talking to her about financial literacy and Alice. And she said to me, we have licensed social workers here who specialize in financial literacy, but by the time they get to us and by the time they get to our programs, it's almost too late. They've already had the damage done to their finances, and now they're in an uphill battle, even more so to move beyond being Alice. So one of the things that we hope to do is to get to, work with Alice to prevent them from even ever getting to that point where they go to the program, so that we can work with them to improve their financial literacy and hope, move forward to thriving. And so the entry door to this financial program would be through something called the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, also called VITA. Some people call it VITA. And it's a program to assist those who qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit on their taxes. So we would provide free tax services, and most of the AITC population falls within Alice. And so what we do is we help them file their taxes so that they can access the Earned Income Tax Credit. But what this would do is kind of create the entry door. So we would be able to work with Alice on their taxes, but find out what their needs are in terms of helping them with their financial literacy. Do they need education on bank accounts? Do they need to understand how some of the different loan systems work? What can we do to help them so that they understand the impact of charging their rent on their credit card and the eventual impact that that's going to have for them if they go ahead and use their credit card to the maximum, and what that means with their interest. So what we're doing is we're currently meeting with nonprofits, colleges, churches like yourselves, and businesses looking for partners for the VITA program to play different roles within the VITA program. Like I said, VITA will give us the opportunity to determine the needs of Alice in regards to financial literacy. So we can shape the program not for what we think the program should be, but what the Alice population really needs and wants, so that we can shape it so that we do the best we can to help them. So I like to leave off with this. This is a statement from someone who's actually in the Alice population. And I think it sums it up. It says, I want to make a better life for myself, but of course I have to start with stability. I want stability more than anything. And I think in that statement, it captures so much about Alice, because it also captures the stress and the exhaustion that the Alice population feels just with all of these financial stressors. So with that, I put it out to the floor for questions. I had sent out a brief sheet about the population in Allegheny County. So if you have any questions about the sheet I sent out, you have any questions about this information, please feel free to throw out any questions you might have.
It might be helpful if you stop sharing your screen so we could all see each other.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. That makes. And then I can see everybody too, because then I can turn my camera on without me freezing completely. That helps too.
No, we're interested to go check that website out.
I'm actually pulling it up now. And so what I want to do is share my screen, and then maybe because I think my internet connection might be a little bit more stable, maybe Sue could direct me of how to get around the website, and we could all take a look at it together. So, oh, could you make it possible for me to be the host?
Yep. Okay.
I knew I shouldn't have given up the
How do
power.
I switch you back?
Go under participants and then find Virginia
Okay.
Tyler Smith and make me the host.
I went ahead and just made it so all participants can share. Does that
Oh,
help?
very nice. Yes, that works. Okay. So let me share
Okay.
this. Yeah. Right. Okay, so now I'm sharing. Can you all see this? It says New York overview.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. So here we are. So right across the top, we've got lots of different things we can look at.
Yep.
All sorts of stuff. Let's look at maps for
And
a second.
if you,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Sue. Talk to me.
oh, because I was going to say, so on that site, anywhere on that site where you get to the New York State, if you scroll down, there's several different places where you can bring up Alice data by county. So what you can do is there's even a on that page that we were just on, if you go down to the bottom of it, it gives you the ability to compare counties. So you can compare Allegheny with Cattaraugus. You can compare Allegheny with the Bronx. You can compare, like I said, any county across New York State with Allegheny County, just to see what the different Alice levels are, because the rent here is different than the rent is in New York City. So it kind of gives you an idea of what Alice looks like in all the different parts of the state.
So I'm looking here. This is the New York overview.
Yeah, if you scroll down to the bottom, I believe it's there.
Ah, okay. So then I can
Yep.
look at that.
And you can look at that, and you can take a look and see the Allegheny County, the total number of households, and you can compare the Alice to like Cattaraugus County,
Which one is that here?
right to the left. So
Oh,
you got
sorry.
Steuben County, and then, yep.
Geography, not my best.
Yeah, and so you can do the comparisons, but then if you look at the top of the page, you can see for all New York counties, you can go to the county reports page.
That's
Oop, oop, right, oop, right below the learn more. Oh, there you
Oh.
go.
right
Yep.
below.
That works. It'll get you to the page
Where? Here?
where you just
Or-
clicked. Yep, the county, that button right there. Go ahead and click that.
Okay. Okay. New York County reports. Select a county,
Mhm.
and you want Allegheny.
Yep, and this, when you go down through, it gives you the point in time data that they chose for 2022. And then it shows you the number of households. You recognize some of these graphs from my presentation. And then even further down on the page, a lot of the information that I was sharing was based on 2 adults, 2 children, or 1 single adult. But at the bottom of the page, you have the ability to choose what type of household you'd like to take a look at and
Okay.
what its composition is.
So should we just pick?
Oh, keep scrolling down on the
Okay.
bottom of the page. There you
Oh,
go.
here we go.
Yeah, so this gives you an idea of what the actual costs are for Alice. So you have the single adult, the 1 adult, 1 child, and then even looking at the children at different ages. So when a child is in childcare, when it's just 2 single adults together, 2 adults and 2 children, and it goes through the whole. And this is, when you look down at the hourly wage, you look down and say, well, $13.63 for a single adult. And you think that, well, that's great. They're making $15 an hour, but this is 22. And the minimum wage was $13.20. So it's you have to anticipate that all these costs have gone up. So, like I said, the hourly wage in 2022, when these figures were done, that Alice needed, it wasn't minimum wage. It was above minimum wage just for a single adult to have that survivability budget.
So as I recall, Sue, maybe I'm not remembering correctly, but didn't we look at a table kind of like this and it showed us for a single adult, for example, or for 2 adults,
Yep.
where their area of greatest need was, whether it was healthcare or transportation, or did we have that? Am I remembering that right?
I think it's down at the bottom of the page.
Okay.
And there is a new report that they're working on
there
that's
we
going to
go.
show, yep, specific hardship areas for Alice.
So this is the county, right?
That's the
So if-
county, and that shows you the specific towns within the county and their
Wow.
Alice population by town.
Okay. And so additional geography subdivision, what does that show us?
So if you click on that, that's going to give you the information by town.
Oh, wow.
So, and then you can go to the census, you can do it by zip code. You can do it by the census destination. But the subdivision is the town, and the zip code, some zip codes cross the town line, so.
Okay. So there's Friendship, Belfast, Cuba. Let's click on Cuba for just a second. Will it give us what we need, or do we need to put in the zip code?
I think you need to put in that's just a basic map, but if you go down further down to the
Oh.
bottom, it does it by the county subdivisions too. And that
Okay.
gives you the below Alice threshold.
Wow.
Goes into 32.
So Angelica, 55. Cuba is 45.
Mhm.
And Wellsville, there you are, 53. Oh, I see. And then these are what the sponsors are doing. Okay.
Yep. But that gives you real insight to the towns, like how much they're looking at, because you look at Friendship and it's 58% is Alice. And I think there was one town that was 60%. I want to say it was
Clarksville.
70%. Clarksville,
68.
68%.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's anyone who's living in poverty and Alice. So that's the combined. So that's the percentage that just is not making it to make that those essential costs.
So, friends, you also can direct me if there's something on this website you want me to click on or go look at. Go ahead, and I'm happy to do it. I want to go back to this table just because I find this fascinating. You know, there's no wiggle room in here. You know, it's not like, you know, we don't even see a clothing line, right? We don't see anything about entertainment here. There's nothing in here about cell phone or internet. This is just the very basics. And you can see how it is that one paycheck missed and you're really in trouble.
The other impact is the changing tax credits too, because during the pandemic, a lot of this population could qualify for much higher tax credits. And with the pandemic being over, you know, those increased tax credits, especially for the child credit, that was cut, and that severely impacted this group as well.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at the food line too. I went to the grocery store earlier today. I did not buy any meat. I did not buy any dairy products. I bought vegetables, dry pasta. Yeah, pretty much just vegetables and dry pasta. It was 3 bags worth. Oh, and cat food, and it was $76. So imagine for a family for, you know, $76 is not even a full week's worth of groceries in my household. Um, Imagine what how these numbers have just shot up in the last couple of years. I'm going to stop sharing, but I'm going to keep the website up in case you want me to go back to it. But, you know, I'm so curious for reactions of folks as we're looking at this. What's occurring to you? What's it making you think? What questions do you have?
How could the church help the United Way or the people within ALS?
Yeah, great
I
question.
think I had talked before about VITA, and that is where we really want to start to make that impact and getting that VITA program going. But one of the issues that we have within Allegheny County and Cattaraugus County is the issue of transportation. And the Alice population is so tight, some of them don't have cars, they depend on public transportation. And it's being able to get VITA out to them and being able to have sites within the communities where people can drop off their tax forms, because we have volunteers at Alfred, we have volunteers at Alfred State who are willing to complete the taxes, but it's being able to have those places where Alice can maybe drop their tax forms off so we can get it to Alfred and to Alfred State to complete the taxes. So we're looking for partners to do things like that with us and to help us with Alice.
Mm-hmm.
As Sue and I were talking specifically about the VITA program, I got to thinking about the bus shelter, or the bus stop rather, that's outside of St. John's in Wellsville. I got to thinking about the fact that in Angelica, you know, I know it's sometimes, even if you've got transportation, it can be hard to get into buildings if you've got mobility concerns. And I was thinking how, you know, you can drive a car right up the driveway in Angelica to get into the back door of St. Paul's. So I was thinking, you know, could we host things, and maybe our role might be nothing more than, you know, providing some space and saying, here's cookies and coffee for the people who are actually doing the work. I don't know. I just got to thinking about it.
I guess can everybody hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
All
Yes.
right. I guess I just want to make sure I just want to clarify just kind of explain, Sue, one more time. It's a program that has to do with taxes that gets them into the financial literacy program. And you
Right.
have volunteers, but you need people, you need sites, and you need people to kind of help with transportation, help people to get there and get maybe paperwork filled out or something. Help me understand what's going on.
Yes. So what we're looking for is we're looking for places where we can have people drop their taxes off. We're looking for volunteers to greet those people coming in, because I've done VITA before and people are apprehensive about coming in to get their taxes done. Everybody's nervous. So we need people to greet them and kind of make them comfortable. But then we would also be looking for volunteers. There is a questionnaire that people have to walk through and just answer questions about their income, so that we make sure that we have all the information that the tax preparers actually need. So we would just need people to walk through the questionnaires to make sure that they have all the forms. So that's what we're looking for, is we're looking for space and for volunteers to help us with some of the basics. I wouldn't necessarily be looking for anybody to help us prepare the taxes, just because we do have some accounting students at the universities who are willing to help. But if somebody wanted to do that, we would certainly welcome it. But yeah, that's what we're looking for. We're kind of looking for space and volunteers. And then in terms of financial literacy, we've got an offer from a private business, a financial institution that's willing to help us with it. And also with some of the professors at Alfred and Alfred State have also indicated an interest to get involved in the financial literacy side as well.
Thank you.
So how do people find out about VITA?
Well, we publicize it. Number one, the
Mhm.
United Way puts out information. We put information out to our agencies that serve the ALICE population. We also work through the IRS, because the IRS will announce and have sites listed on their website. So if an individual goes and says, I need free tax service, they'll direct the individual to us. United Way Worldwide will also publicize it for us, and they put out information in a database where you can find a VITA site anywhere in the country. So it would be a combination of all sorts of people putting the information out. The county puts it out to their clients. Like I said, the agencies do. So word gets around pretty quickly that we're doing a VITA program. And I know in Cattaraugus County, we had people coming all the way from Chautauqua County to get their taxes done when they couldn't get into a site in Chautauqua County. And I know in Allegheny County, they have quite a few people come in from Steuben County, because there's no VITA site in Steuben County. So people have been coming into Allegheny County to get their taxes done.
Are there already VITA sites in Allegheny County then? And if so, how are there enough, or are there not enough?
There is one VITA site this year that ran in Houghton, at Houghton University, and I'm trying to partner up with them as well. But there's also something called tax assistance for the elderly, and that's an AARP program, and that's run in Belmont, I believe, through the Department of Aging, has been running a site. But we had to stop doing VITA during the merger, just because we did not have the capacity to run the VITA program and run a merger at the same time. And I could tell you, we get so many phone calls still about taxes. Even now, I mean, it's June and we have people calling us for tax preparation help, just because we have been so identified with assisting with taxes. So I think when we start the program back up, we won't have a problem finding clients that are going to need our help. We've even had accountants call us wanting to refer people over to us, because I had one accountant call me and say, it's such a simple tax form. I don't even want to take their money to do it. If you guys could help them with it. So, I mean, word gets out there, we will have people lined up for VITA.
Go ahead, Mary.
Is there a time, like, the time frame that you would need the site? Is it like from the beginning of the year through April 15th, or is it a longer period of time, or how? I just
No,
wonder
because
what kind of
usually we
time
open,
commitment
it's
if we open
approximately
this.
2 months. It runs from usually February 1st to the last day of March. That's what we have traditionally opened up our sites, just because the earned income tax credit is not released to people who file their taxes until February 22nd. So even if you file your taxes in the middle of January, you're not going to get your EITC until the end of February, because there is so much fraud in the program that the IRS puts those tax forms through a higher level of scrutiny than they would for somebody who's not getting the EITC. So they wait until February 22nd. That is why you see all of the advertisements in Walmart and from all these, H&R Block, where people can get advance payments on their taxes. Those are specifically targeted to the ALICE population. The ALICE population basically gets a loan from these tax preparation companies as an advance against their EITC in the end of February. So when the end of February, the EITC gets released, the money goes back to H&R Block. So it's kind of a loan. But there's usually fees associated with that in the fine print. And so ALICE doesn't get 100% of their EITC. They end up paying some sort of fee to whether it's Jackson Hewitt, H&R Block. So by coming into VITA, they have to wait, but they get it all done for free. And then they get 100% of their EITC.
Sue, do you have any kind of data? It sounds like VITA's been running for a number of years, at least nationwide or through in Cattaraugus County or somewhere else. Do you have any kind of data showing the efficacy as far as helping people out of poverty or to a place where they're thriving? Do you have any kind of data that shows VITA's success?
Well, I know that I believe it's in Allegheny County. The last time that VITA ran, they filed several hundred tax forms, if I remember correctly, and that was a couple of years ago. But the whole thing with VITA is it's that entry door to try to help move them out of poverty. I don't know if we would have any figures about helping people out of poverty, because one of the frustrating things with VITA is that you have some people who are getting maybe between $8,000 and $12,000 back. And you try to counsel them on the use of the EITC, but we kind of lose that opportunity to get more in depth with them about the use of their EITC and how to budget that over the whole year. You only have a brief time really to counsel them about that. So by moving VITA and making that an element of a financial literacy program, we have that opportunity to really counsel them about those higher amounts that they're getting. And I mean, I can tell you, I prepared taxes for somebody and they got a $10,000 refund. And when I asked her, are you going to use this to catch up, which is what most people do, she said, no, I think I'm going to take my kids on a trip to Europe. And, that's the kind of thing. It's like, no, we need to teach them how to budget it and use that for those rainy days that they're going to have, or to use it to catch up on their bills. On the other end of the spectrum, I prepared income taxes for a couple. And when I brought them out, gave them their income taxes, explained to them, you're going to get $10,000 back. The two of them looked at each other and burst into tears. And I said to them, what happened? And they said, we're not going to lose our house. We're going to catch up on our mortgage. We're going to put some aside. It's those type of clients that we get out there to help. But it gives us that chance to create a deeper relationship with this population so that we can help them, like I said, with their financial literacy, help them when they get behind and really see where the needs are. So I don't know if I answered your total question, but this is kind of what I envision.
Do you think that the ALICE population, I mean, they would do this VITA program and then do the financial literacy? Do you think they're willing, like, do they want to understand? And I mean, obviously they don't want to be hurting financially and struggling as they do, but do you find that they're willing, and I don't know what the other word is that I'm looking for, but like, do they actually participate in the program?
Well, there's a program that runs in the northern part of Cattaraugus County that's run by a nonprofit in Erie County. And they work with the Alice population. And one of the great successes they have is within the Alice population, they have them come in and they choose one financial goal for the family. And the family is very willing because they see this goal that they have. Maybe it's being able to, get a larger apartment for the family. Maybe it's about being able to, like I said, a larger or a better vehicle, or being able to get that second vehicle so that they can get to work. And so they create these goals, and they've had great success with the Alice population that they want to participate because they want to get to those goals. And I think with financial literacy, that's the type of model. And I think the more successful financial literacy programs are really very one-on-one, so that you can meet the needs of that individual rather than to do a big financial literacy class. And again, it's testing the Alice population through the VITA program to see what their needs are, because maybe they wouldn't be interested, but based on what I'm hearing from this program in the northern part of Cat County, they are very interested because they want to reach these goals, but they don't know how to get there.
If we did this VITA program, you said it's from the beginning of February through the end of March. Is it like 5 days a week operation, or is it like 1 day a week where you're available? The site is available, or how does that?
I would, my envisionment is that it would be 1 day a week in each site. So maybe on Monday, it would be in Wellsville, and then maybe Wednesday, it would be in Cuba. But, being able, because we have a finite set of volunteers, you don't want to exhaust the volunteers in 8 weeks. And, and we have to consider weather as well at that time period. But just, spreading it out over time so everybody gets that opportunity.
At the same time that you're doing the VITA program, are you providing any other things, for instance, information about other services that are available in the county that might help them, whether it's food, clothing, household goods, transportation assistance, childcare vouchers, things like that? Is this also an opportunity to share other information that might be useful?
It sure is. And I know that when we've had sites in the past, we've had a representative from SNAP there to sign people up for SNAP benefits or review what the SNAP benefits are. We've had representatives from Fidelis Care to talk to people about health insurance, and some of the other healthcare navigators have been there as well to talk to people about health insurance and how to get signed up for that. Yeah, we've invited any and all programs that would like to partner with us. We had a very successful program in Cat County that was done in conjunction with the Olean Library. And we were able to bring in a lot of agencies to meet with people as they were doing their taxes. And I'm hoping to replicate that in Allegheny County to make sure that agencies know that they're welcome to come and talk to people. And that way, Alice learns what the other benefits that they can access are.
So, Bill and Kathy, Kirk, you all have been kind of quiet this evening. I'm just curious what your thoughts are as you're looking at all this, questions you might have.
Well, the question just came to my mind. And I think you might have talked about it earlier, but my small mind can't absorb all this that fast. But if let's say Cuba, like once a week on Wednesday, is opening our doors to let people come in and drop off their tax stuff. So how do they know that we're doing that? Do we have to advertise that ourselves, or does United Way somehow get that information out? Or
It would be all over the place. It would like so the IRS lists the site. So it would be registered with the IRS. So it would be part of their database. So if somebody went to the IRS and said, I want to get my taxes done for free, that site would come up in the IRS database with the date and time that we would be there. We would publicize it through our social media channels. And our member agencies would also be publicizing it. But we would also get the information out specifically to the program managers so that they can let the Alice population know.
Okay.
And then the United Way Worldwide also has a database. But there's also a system called 211. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but it is an information and referral service for all the human service agencies. And this is a nationwide phone number, but we have one locally. So we would list all the VITA sites and times with 211. So if somebody was calling 211 for additional services, they would mention the VITA site as well. And they do a lot of work through 211, but we would be publicizing it all over the place. And it would be wonderful if you would publicize it as well, but we would be out there working to make sure everybody knew it was there too.
Okay. Thank you.
What kind of hours are you open? Like, would it start like from 9 to 5, or is that what they do like a whole day, or would it be like in the evening, or?
It's whenever anybody's available. I mean, and it depends on the volunteers. So we might open up from, 6 to 9, maybe from noon to 5. It would depend completely on the volunteers. So if we had a volunteer that would be able to be, in one of the churches from noon to 5, that's what it would be. But we're willing to run whatever times are convenient for the volunteers.
And are the volunteers responsible for helping them to complete that form, or there would be somebody there to do that with the participants?
The way VITA is structured, the volunteers can do anything that they are comfortable with. So like, let's say you had a volunteer who says, I don't want anything to do with the taxes. We still, through the IRS, that the IRS is a government organization, so the paperwork can be kind of crazy. But as a receptionist, you do a test on confidentiality. You don't talk outside of VITA about who's coming in there. You make sure that driver's licenses aren't left in the copy machine, that type of thing. They do a test on that. And then if you want to do the questionnaire, they do training on exactly how to ask the questions on the questionnaire. And then you get certified to do the questionnaire. And then from there, you can become a basic level tax preparer, which you can do just basic 1040s, but then you can become an advanced level preparer, which means that you can do just about all of the different types of taxes that come into a VITA. So it's the volunteer's comfort level. And if somebody, like I said, wants nothing to do with talking to anybody about their taxes, then they can be a receptionist. If somebody's like, yeah, hey, I'll be more than happy to sit down and go through it with them, then we can get them certified for that. But it's all on the volunteers' comfort level. I've had people who are absolutely deathly afraid of doing taxes, so they're great receptionists, because at a VITA site, you get so many people coming in there that a great receptionist can calm everybody down. We had one that was absolutely wonderful at one point, where she was like a traffic cop, moving everybody around, making sure everybody was comfortable, and just could talk to anybody and get a conversation going. And she was just so invaluable. It was great. She was an intern over at Jamestown Community College and came over to help us, and just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So everybody has a role, and it's up to them what they're comfortable with.
generally speaking, what would the facility requirements be? Because I heard you mention like a copy machine or what would have to be available there?
We would be able to bring the equipment with us because we can get we have a certain amount of equipment available. So like we would just basically need probably a room where people can be, where you could separate people so that they could have run through the questionnaires. So that somebody's not announcing like their social security card out in like a big open areas for everybody to know. But and just we have a copy machine. We would have a copy, like a little brother copy machine. We have one available that we can make sure to make copies of everything. So
We gotta get back to our children, but thank you for all the information and the presentation. It was
well,
interesting.
thank you very much. I appreciate all of your patience with me as I babble on, because sometimes I could get talking pretty good. So thank you very much for having me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
Be
Good
well.
night, Jeff. Good night, Morgan. So, Bill, Kathy, I'm curious to hear from you. I really am. You're over there in Wellsville. Just wondering what your thoughts are.
I think it's a good program. My biggest concern when we were talking about space, depending on the number of people, I guess I'm worried about the privacy issue because there's not that big of a space to separate people from those who would be doing their taxes. That's my biggest fear. I don't know what the other churches feel like, but if you don't have a space where you can keep like people waiting separately, and then for those who are getting it done, I know when I have my taxes done, which I go to H&R Block, you got a waiting room, but you got private offices.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I'm thinking in our church with the space limitations, especially during February and March, you can't have people waiting outside. So we'd have to really look at how we would set things up.
We've done appointments in the past is what we've done. So we would have a main phone number that they would call and they would set up a time where they would come. And we could do it in like 15-minute increments, because what would happen is somebody would drop their tax information off, but then it would go to Alfred, the students would prepare it, but then it would have to come back and you have to review their taxes with them. So we can set up appointment times for that, and we can work through 211 to do that, because 211 handles all the appointment times for VITA. And so, I mean, we can get this is how it's been done in the past.
I wonder too, as we look at the Alice information, are there other things that we might be able to help with, especially as we think about the populations in our respective communities? If we were to use the Alice data and drill down a little bit on census data, we might be able to identify both we've been doing quite a lot relative to school-age children, but I'm thinking especially about the elderly population and where there might be some opportunity to partner with other agencies to be assistful to them. We do some stuff around the holidays and such, but there may be more opportunity here. So if we have more questions, I'm assuming you've got somebody who's your Alice person on staff, and probably also a VITA person on staff. Maybe they're you. I don't know. Who should we be in touch with?
Right now, just be in touch with me, because
Okay.
I'm the Alice person on the staff, and we're working to we're working to get somebody on board to kind of coordinate VITA, because it's going to be a heavy lift with both counties, but we're tracking somebody down right now and getting some grant money. So that's our next goal.
Okay. Terrific. I know, just as we've been talking, I've been playing a little bit on the website. I'm currently looking at a page that has to do with the burden of food insecurity. There is so much here, friends. Please go out and look at it. And it's good stuff. I think at this point, what we probably want to do is take some time to think about it, talk about it with our respective churches, see, is VITA what we think we want to do, or do we simply want to try to understand the information and pray on it a bit and see where God might be calling us? Hard to know. But what is good to know is that what we're seeing in our community, there's actually data behind it to help us understand it more.
Right.
And I'm the type of person who always feels better if I know that it's not just made up out of my head, So, though a lot of things are. But so Sue, I really want to thank you for your time with us tonight. I know we're all grateful for your knowledge and your willingness to share. Any last questions or thoughts? All right.
Very good program.
Yeah, it was well done.
Thank
so
you, thank
much.
you, thank you.
Thank you
And
very much.
I'll be in touch with everybody. God bless. Take care. Thanks again, Sue.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right.
Be well.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.